idea of creating a successful life and what that really means to us. And that is however you choose to define success. So over the past 2 weeks, we have described it in a variety of ways, and I want to give you yet more ways of exploring and living a successful life, no matter what. Always with that caveat, no matter what. And this definition comes from a New Thought giant, Ralph Waldo Emerson. He once said that to be successful is to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, and to leave this world a little bit better, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. That is to have succeeded. I like that. It's beautiful. This quote goes back to one of the first principles of success that we spoke of, and from the book by Jack Canfield, Success Principles, How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be, which is our theme book for this month. And some of these success principles were to be on purpose, to live our lives in joy and service. When we become our inner coaches instead of that inner critic, our inner coaches, and then we are on the road to succeed or moving toward living from the quote that I've used every Sunday from Thomas Edison. If we did all the things that we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. What's that quote? And I love it so much. We're going to make it in first person. If I did all the things I am capable of doing, I would literally astound myself. I'm going to ask you to repeat that after me in 2 parts. If I did all the things I am capable of doing,
if I did all the things I am capable of doing,
I would literally astound myself.
I would literally astound myself.
Amen. I could keep going. Okay, so that is our goal. That is our goal, to astound ourselves. So to support this today, we're going to explore 2 more of the principles, the success principles that Jack Canfield talked about. He has 64. We're not going to do all 64. It would just take too long. So we're going to put this one under the heading of celebrating success. So 1, success principle number 26, acknowledge my positive past. You might say, what's that? But in Creative Mind and Success, Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote, in order to have success, we must conceive of it in our own thoughts. So first and foremost, we have to have the idea, the mental image or equivalent of what it is we want in our lives. And a good way to conceive it in our own thoughts is to remember it and to consciously acknowledge it. Acknowledge it as if it is already happening. Now, some might think, what's positive past? And if I were to ask you one success that happened to you last week, a lot of you would think, and then, you might come up with one. But how about if I asked you how you messed up last week? That usually comes very fast to us. So it comes to us more readily, those failures, which is a word I don't particularly like. It's more like lessons. But we tend to be programmed to remember our failures. And Canfield explains why in his book, Success Principles. He said when we were growing up, and you know this if you hear little kids running around and their parents, there's so much more, I'm going to quote him, I'm not going to go up. Okay, he writes this: there was always, almost always, more emotional intensity around your errors and mistakes and failures than there was around your successes. Because the brain more easily remembers events that were accompanied by strong emotions. Most people underestimate and underappreciate the number of successes they have had in relationship to the number of failures. The sad truth, he's still going, is that we all had many more victories than failures. It's just that we have set the bar too high for what we call success. And when we get real about many successes in life that we have had, and we have had a great deal of them, to be sure, we set the stage. We set the stage for greater and greater successes. This is why, because it impacts our self-esteem. We must have that higher self-esteem. And Canfield calls this the power chip theory. The power chip theory. The poker chip theory is what it's really called. He calls it the poker chip theory. And I'm going to explain that because this is how he writes it. Imagine for a moment that your self-esteem is like a stack of poker chips. Then imagine that you and I are playing a game of poker, and you have 10 chips and I have 200. Who do you think is going to play more conservatively at this game of poker? Yes, you are. If you lose 2 bets of 5 chips, you're out of the game. And if I lose 5 chips 40 times, I am still going to be successful because I can take more risks. And he continues, your level of self-esteem works the same way. The more self-esteem you have, the more risks you are willing to take over and over again. And the more you acknowledge your past successes, the more confident you become in taking on and successfully accomplishing new ones. You know that even if you fail, it won't destroy you because your self-esteem is high. The more you risk, the more you win in life. The more shots you take, the more chances you have of scoring. Knowing that you have had successes in the past will give you the self-confidence that you can have many more successes in the future. So it's about having that and building our self-esteem so that we can take those risks. So what? So what if it doesn't work out? There's always something else to do, and we have the confidence to know it. So there are 2 really valuable and exciting ways to acknowledge your positive past. And Canfield suggests one of which we're going to do this morning. We're going to do it fast, but then you're going to know how to do it at home. First, we divide our lives into 3 parts, right? Into thirds. And then list 3 successes under each category of your life. So you take your age and you divide it by 3. And here's what I came up with really quickly for myself. age 0 to 25. I learned how to ride a bicycle. I immigrated to America. I won a scholarship to a college. 25 to 50. I gave birth to 2 sons. I earned my black belt in Taekwondo. I moved to New Jersey. Was that a win? Yes, it was. I love New Jersey. Yes, I do. Anyway. And I became a practitioner. And then age 50 to 75, can you believe it? I became an ordained religious science minister. I founded Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. And I earned a doctoral degree. And that was just last year, the doctoral degree. So it doesn't stop with an age. It keeps on going. And the more we accomplish, the more we feel confident in ourselves. I want to take a few minutes here this morning then to actually do this exercise, because I suspect that if I give it to you as homework, you might not do it. And if you're anything like me, a little bit of a procrastinator, you'll probably just leave the paper there. So I want us to start it, because it's all about building our self-esteem, and that encourages successes in our lives. So there's a handout, as always. In your bulletin, we always have paper in there, that I want you to take out right now. And I hope you all have a pen. Anyone need a pen? Yeah? Anyone need a pen? No? Good. Because the ushers aren't here to give them to you, and I brought them in. But anyway, okay, good. Everyone has a pen. All right, so what we're going to do is you're going to divide your age into 3s. Leave a space in between, okay? 0 to whatever a third of your life is. And then you're going to write 3 things that you have successfully accomplished in each trimester of your life. So you're going to take just a few moments. Now, if you're at home, you can do the same with a piece of paper and a pen. So you can have the same opportunity. I'm going to give you a few minutes. This is going to be fast. You can finish it at home. And we're going to begin now. 3 things that you, in each trimester of your life, successes. Nobody felt anything? I know you did. What's the word?
It feels like gratitude.
Gratitude. Oh, I like that. What was the word, Mike?
Enlightening.
What was that?
Enlightening, she said. Enlightening.
Enlightened. Yeah. It's that we don't focus on the successes as much as we focus on what people label as failures. And it changes. It's a life changer. It really is a life changer. Now, to fully convince yourself that you are a successful person, which I already know you are, you can continue to create great things. And there's a second thing that you're going to do. You're going to do this at home. You're going to dig deeper. But please, please do it. You're going to write up to 100 things that you have succeeded in your life? 100 different things. And remember, Jack Canfield said, the truth is that we have many more victories than failures. It's just that we set the bar too high for what we call our success. So if you don't set the bar so high, write these 100 down, because it's such a powerful exercise in moving us into a state of complete gratitude. That is the word, gratitude. And gratitude always attracts more good into our lives. So I'll give you, as an example, the 5 first things that I accomplished as successes. I was born. I learned to sit up. I learned to crawl. I learned to walk. And I learned to talk. And so that's 5. You just have 95 more to add to that. And I know you can. And then keep this list handy. Keep it handy. Wherever you spend time, it will bolster you when you're feeling not too successful in your life. And it will give you the courage and confidence when you are about to begin something that might be new. It might be different. When you really want to do something, someone told me, read your successes. So let's spend just a few more minutes on another success principle today. It is the practice of uncommon appreciation. Great word, by the way. How better to acknowledge success than to be grateful for where you are. And that includes being grateful for who you are. Who you are. It's a blessing, because each and every one of us is a different spark of the infinite consciousness. Each and every one of us. No one left out. Mother Teresa once said, there is more hunger for love and appreciation than there is for bread. We know that like attracts like. Right? It's the law of attraction. So the more you are in a state of appreciation and gratitude, the more you will attract people and circumstances to be grateful for. It's how it works. If we live in fear, and there's plenty of forces that try to make us live in fear, you don't have to give in to them. You live in the moment of today, and that's where your power lies, and you practice that attitude of gratitude, and you will attract more, and it's the way it works. Just try it. If you haven't already, it's the way it works. It's an upward spiral. It is. The universe moves in upward spirals, not straight lines. It's more circular, and so are we. We are circular beings. So appreciation is twofold, self and others. First, we appreciate ourselves. And I know for a lot of people, and myself included, it took me years before I realized I don't appreciate myself. Hello? How can I really appreciate anyone else if I don't appreciate me? So first, ourselves. We appreciate ourselves. It is time that we live our own magnificent and acknowledge that we are those beings that are magnificent. And that acknowledging all those positive qualities that we have and the wonderful accomplishments that we have achieved in our lives. In Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes writes this, I shall not lie to myself anymore, but shall daily speak the truth to my inner soul, telling it that it is wonderful and marvelous. Imagine if you walked around telling yourself that you're wonderful and marvelous instead of, oh my God, I'm so fat. My hair looks like crap today. On and on. It goes on forever. I mean, Lord. Someone once said to me in a class, she said, every time I look in the mirror, all I see is that I'm fat. And I said to her, don't look in the mirror. So that's what I'm saying to you. I don't even know how they pulled that one out. That was a long time ago. So take time to appreciate yourself. And then you take the time to appreciate others. What if you set your intentions to offer gratitude 10 times a day to others? It could be anything. I love doing that. It makes people smile. You know, complete strangers, when you just say something that's so positive to them, it lights up their day, because we really don't know what anyone else is going through. And then, before you go to sleep at night, always have something, 10 if you can. I usually do 5 or 6 every night before I go to sleep. I think of the day really fast, scan it, like scan the day, and find wonderful things that have taken place that I wouldn't have acknowledged if I didn't take the time to. So what if you offered that then 10 times a day? You're going to feel better. And I wonder what kind of impact that would have on your life. And you don't know until you try it. Just try it. There's so many grumpy people out there. People are going through a lot. Everyone's going through a lot. But you know what? There's so much to be grateful for that we overlook. And I'm just asking us to take a moment all day long to really think about that. What you have to be grateful for. Here's what Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, wrote in his book. His book was Jesus Christ Heals. Metaphysicians, that's all of us, have discovered that words which express thanks, gratitude, and praise release energy of mind and soul. And their use is usually followed, he says, by effects so pronounced. But they are quickly identified with the words that provoke them. Let your words of praise and thanksgiving be to spirit, and the increase will be even greater. The resources of spirit, which is God, are beyond our highest flight of imagination. Just giving thanks to the universal life force, giving thanks to all that is. Just doing that, it sets this energy into motion, and we bring more good into our lives. I'm going to leave you with a story, one that I've said before, but I'm going to repeat it again because I like it. A new monk arrives at a monastery. He is assigned to help the other monks in copying the old copies of the canon and laws of the church by hand. He notices, however, that all of these monks are copying from copies, not from the original manuscript. So the new monk goes to the head abbot and questions this, pointing out that if somebody made a mistake in that first copy, that mistake will be going on in subsequent copies. The head monk said, "We've been copying from copies for centuries, but what you say makes good sense, my son." So the head monk goes down into the dark caves underneath the monastery where the original manuscript has been in a locked vault for centuries, and it hasn't been opened. Hours go by, many hours, and nobody's seen the old abbot. So the young monk gets worried and goes downstairs to look for him. And he sees him banging his head against the wall until it was bloodied and bruised. And he's crying uncontrollably. The young man asks the old abbot, "What's wrong, Father?" With a choking voice, the old abbot replies, "Oh no, no, no. They got it wrong. The word is supposed to be celebrated." Now, if you're a little slow on that. So, yes. Okay. Takes a minute or two. Celebrate. Let's celebrate life. Just today, let's celebrate life. And there's a party going on right here, a celebration to last throughout the year. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We're going to celebrate your party with you. And we're going to change that for today. We're going to say, there's something good happening right here, a celebration that lasts throughout the year. So bring your big dreams and aspirations too. We're going to celebrate your life with you. So let's do that. Let's start celebrating who we are and to remember to focus on that good and that appreciation. And so it is.